Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is the Geek Battalion. This is part number 2 of our swing into the Spider-Verse. If you haven't checked out part number 1, go do that, because we are going to cover a bunch of stuff. B, what do we got coming up here next?
So we're getting ready to do the spoilers.
Yep.
Thing.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, this is your last chance to shut this off and go experience this movie without having us fucking talk about it and ruin it. Go see this movie. It is well worth a watch in theaters on a big screen.
I don't know if it's taken the top spot for me, but I've only seen it once, so I don't think I've given it a fair shake, but this has moved into the ranks of one of my all-time favorite movies. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Up there with TMNT 1, Star Wars, Star Trek. For me, it's up there.
Agreed. We'll get into my list someday. But
I'm terrible at lists with that sort of thing.
Well, I really only have the top 2, and then from there, it's just an endless web.
I don't even think I could tell you a number 1 favorite movie of mine.
It rotates depending on how I feel.
Yeah, my mood heavily influences that.
My staple is the outlaw Josie Wales.
Yeah, okay.
Clint Eastwood, just it's fantastic. And then Empire, of course.
Surprised you didn't say Big Trouble in Little China.
It is probably top 3.
All right, let's get on topic and get into the spoilers.
Spoilers.
So, we can do the favorite character who's not Miles thing just to lead it off. Okay. I think mine's probably Spider-Punk.
I was gonna say that. Just to be different, but you're not wrong. I'm gonna go with Miguel O'Hara. It's Spider-Man 2099. So
Oscar Isaac does not disappoint.
I could also make an argument for Gwen too, though. So
Gwen's great. Oh man, dude, that's another thing.
Tough.
Like all the characters are so well done, so well. Good. They get their moments to shine. They have great development. They have fantastic voice acting, and like I've nerded out on before. Everything for me in animation is like voice acting. Like if you have great voice acting, I can get around pretty much anything else.
Agreed.
If the voice acting is shit, it could be the most beautiful movie of all time, and I don't really care. So
it's a toss up for me because I love the Chris Pine Spider-Man, even though we only have him for like the first couple of minutes. It's such a good Spider-Man.
Yeah,
he did such a great job.
He's like the perfect Spider-Man in all these different ways, but he wasn't the one. He wasn't the one I needed. I didn't know there was a different one I needed.
Yeah,
but,
and then you had the Nick Cage Spider-Man,
Noir. Yes.
Yeah, just I loved him because he was just so random.
He's a goofball,
and it's Nick Cage. But I think my favorite Spider-Man, other than Miles, has to be Peter B. Parker.
Yeah, that
I do love him.
I liked him better in the first one than this one, but
I think we're gonna get more of him
for sure.
in Beyond the Spider-Verse. I think we're gonna get.
What I loved about him was he struggled with getting older.
Yeah,
and as myself getting older, I felt his struggle, and like everybody keeps calling him fat. He's like, well, I'm not fat. I'm just pudgy. And I can't believe you led with calling me fat, And
I was totally doing crunches,
as he's eating pizza.
As he's
getting
doing
strong.
push-ups, getting strong. But the pizza is like trying to go away from
what I love most about Peter B. Parker in the first one
is crying in the bathtub. Well, that was my favorite.
Sure, that's a funny moment. But I just love like the idea of him, right? Like, so you contrast him with this perfect Spider-Man who, laid down his life for his city and everything.
Married Mary Jane.
Right. Had everything right.
Yeah.
And then you contrast it with Peter B. Parker, who he mostly has the Spider-Man stuff right. It's just his personal life that suffers, which is realistic to the Spider-Man in the comics. Like his personal life is always suffering and he's always hurting people he loves to save total strangers.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of the greater good situation and the hero curse, but and it's you can tell that Peter B. Parker is getting to a point where like he probably isn't going to be Spider-Man much longer if things keep just falling apart in his life. And then he meets, you know, Miles, and he realizes like I can still be of value. Like I can teach him. I can, and he's given me value.
Yeah, he's kind of you. He's like
who is?
Do I want kids?
Oh, yeah, sure. That's a great moment. Like, oh my God, do I want kids?
Do I want kids? You're doing such a great job.
Yeah, and then he has the kid, and like you see his like growth, and you see his redemption arc.
Yeah, that moment in Spider-Verse was up there in the sequel and Across the Spider-Verse where he has Mayday, and all the Spider-Men are chasing Miles through the headquarters. Yeah. And he catches up with them, and he takes that moment to say, like, I had her because of you.
Because of you.
I thought that if I raised her, that she might turn out like you, and that made me happy because you're a great kid. And like that it was just a great moment, like how much like kids, or like how much really anyone, I was just telling my kids this today, like you can learn from anybody, even if it's how not to be. But like just because Miles is a kid, like he still totally changed Peter B. Parker's life, right? He's the inspiration to go back and get with Mary Jane and have this whole renewed life and like put himself out there, and it's great. It's amazing. Yeah,
and like never downplay your impact on somebody. Like Peter B. Parker with Miles, it was maybe like 2 days total and into the Spider-Verse, but the impact that Miles made changed his life.
Right.
Yeah, it changes everything.
For the rest of his life. Like,
I mean, this is kind of getting back into what we talked about before the spoilers, but like I talked about the different storylines that are going on there.
Right.
It's too soon for me. I can't pick out the one that I enjoyed the most. I think the one that was the most apparent to me, even though I recognize the others, the biggest one that affected me in the moment was the parenting stuff. Like, Jefferson, like, man, am I screwing this up? I don't know what to do. I know what he thinks he wants, but I got to show him that there's a better way to do this. And like, oh God. And sitting next to my three boys in this theater, like, there's the moment. Feel that. Are they looking at me like, does Dad not have an idea what to do in this? Because I don't. I'm making this shit up as I go along.
Well, there's the moment at the party, right, where they end up having their argument at his promotion party. And Jefferson is just like, "You're grounded," like, and then just keeps like 2 months, 3 months, whatever, And it just made me think of all those times where I'm like, I'm just at a loss, and it's like, I'm sure there's a better way to handle this, but the only thing I can go to is just like, you're grounded, or you're like punishment.
Yeah, I'm too pissed off or too confused.
And then like later when him and Rio are talking about it, and he's like, is this all my fault? Do I need to let him spread his wings after he has a conversation with Miles as Spider-Man and he doesn't know? And he's just like, it's again, like we talked about briefly, like good parents have those moments where you're just constantly second guessing and double checking and thinking like, am I ruining this kid's life, or am I too easy on him? Am I too harsh on him? Am I finding this middle ground? Am I going to traumatize them? Am I going to show them enough love? Like, what am I doing? And it's displayed so well in such a fun medium.
Yes. I guess my thought is too, like, they're doing certain things that aren't wrong. They're not bad. They're just not what I think is the greatest thing. And it's strays from what the lane that I'm in. But again, it's not negative. Like, how do I get him closer to my lane, or should I just let him go in that lane? Or like,
I think that's the biggest struggle with being a parent, is just accepting that your kids aren't there for you to live vicariously through.
Agreed.
You are there to support whoever they become.
Absolutely. And hope that you gave them the foundation and the
to
tools.
Become a good human.
Yes.
And that's an extremely difficult thing to come to terms with.
Yes.
Yeah, you see that struggle with Jefferson. Like, am I doing this right? Am I giving him the tools?
Struggle with Jefferson.
Yeah, and then you see, Miles's mom, her struggle. Like, okay, I want to be like the hard ass parent, but I also want to be like the nurturing parent too.
Right.
You know, when they had the conversation after Gwen. When she first initially meets Gwen, which is funny too, because she calls them by their first name, and they're like,
And they
oh
both
yeah,
bitch about it, like, we're there, huh?
yeah, we're doing the first names, yeah.
After they
awesome.
already mentioned how
just
much they
bitched about
hate
it,
when his friends call him by
Yeah.
their first name, which I
Well,
would agree.
no, it was like one of their friends.
Yeah,
that they
it's
would
his
just-
roommate, Genki.
Yeah.
Genki. He's like, that kid calls me
He's
by.
weird.
He calls me Jeff.
Calls me
I don't,
Jeff?
I don't
Yeah.
like that.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then she's like,
But-
oh, hi, Jeff. Hi, Rio.
Yeah. Oh, I've heard so much about you.
But yeah,
Yeah.
like you see the contrasting parental ideologies there. Like she's initially like, yeah, you do get to ground him and like is all in on it. And then she kind of sees what he's struggling with and she takes a different approach. And like,
Right.
that's why it's great to have like a supportive partner that you can have
God,
a conversation with and like
Yes.
do those things. Like I have to tap out, you got to step in, and this is your strength in this situation. You can do these things, and you can tap me in for this different thing. And then sometimes we got to go together and we got to handle this sort of thing. And they just showcase it really well. And it's still like the way she handles it and says like, you know, you're still in trouble, man. But like, I get where you're
Yeah.
coming from.
Live your
And-
life for
and
a
go
moment.
go live your
Yeah.
life tonight.
Yeah, and then she tries to
promise
like,
me that you're gonna come
like,
back and-
ease into it too. But like, I hope I didn't ice your game, man.
Yeah.
Mom,
Nobody says that.
Nobody my age says those
that
words in that
order.
combination.
That's a great transition too, because like as much as the parenting stuff hit me, I was fully in on this Miles trying to become his own man.
Me too. Oh man, I
story,
love it.
which kudos to Lord and Miller, because I don't know if they have kids or not, but they hit those marks. I think it's a lot easier for an adult to tell a coming of age story because we've lived it. You know, we've done that.
Right. We've seen our own version.
Yes, and we know what we screwed up. We know what we did well.
Yeah. And you know it gets better too. Like
yes, exactly.
when you're 16, like everything feels like it's the end of the world or it's never going to get better or
well, it's that
you're
time frame
trapped or
that
whatever.
you're not familiar with. Whereas
Yeah.
like when you're 15, 4 years is an eternity. A year is an eternity.
Yeah.
When you're 40,
Yeah.
that's like
Well, okay.
like
Yeah, like, oh, I can do that.
Well, what are we
Yeah,
doing
what's-
after that?
And when you're 90, I'm sure it's
yeah.
even more
I can at least have a
relative.
beer after the 4 years, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you get something out of this, right?
So,
Yeah.
but no, I really the coming of age story, and not just the coming of age, but like the Miles stepping into the superhero, the elite echelon of superheroes. Holy shit, did yeah.
Okay,
Man.
let's talk about that too. So
yeah.
briefly, just to plot synopsis this so we have an idea of where we're talking about.
Right.
Basically, it's about a year later. Miles has been Spider-Man for about a year in Brooklyn.
I think that's what he says.
He's still going to school at the Visions Academy. He's living the double life as Spider-Man. His parents don't know, and he's doing his best to maintain the double life, which is always the struggle of Peter Parker or Spider-Man, regardless of who he is and where he is in the multiverse. But you can tell that he is just struggling to find people who can relate to what he's going through,
Right.
and he is desperate to see Gwen again, to see Peter B. Parker again, to see his friends, and he's
But
constantly,
especially Gwen.
but especially Gwen
Yeah.
because she's hot,
Yeah.
and they connected.
Definitely in love with her. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's that, like you said, it's that first love, and like we've all experienced how powerful that can be, and how like that age.
Blinding.
Yeah, it just is all encompassing. It's
Yeah.
you think it's the most important thing in the world, and it's okay for that to be the case, I think. But and then out of nowhere we get Gwen visiting him because she has joined Miguel O'Hara's
Yes.
Spider Society, and now she has access to this technology to
Well,
allow
the
her.
reason that she joins.
Yes, you skipped ahead there.
Yes.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like, I touched on it at the beginning there, but like the way that Gwen's story hits, and as hard as it hits,
Oh man.
I was a mess
God.
before we even see Miles.
Yeah,
and
so
I was like,
in her universe, she is wanted for the death of Peter Parker,
who becomes the lizard?
Who becomes the lizard in her universe, and they briefly touch on it in Into the Spider-Verse that she couldn't save him, but we get to see the whole kit and caboodle here in this movie,
Yeah.
and basically her dad catches her standing over Peter's body.
Her dad's a cop.
Her
of
dad's
course.
Captain Stacy of the police department, and he knew Peter because Peter was her best friend. Peter ate dinner at his house, so he is mourning the loss of his daughter's best friend and this really good kid. And he thinks that this evil vigilante Spider-Man has become this killer, and so he is actively hunting for Gwen, for his own daughter, unbeknownst to him the whole time. And it culminates in a battle with a multiverse displaced Vulture at an art museum.
Was he from Noir?
I don't know if he's from Noir.
No.
They said he's from some weird.
Oh, that's right. He was
Leonardo da
from like
Vinci.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah.
But he's like an Italian
1400s,
Leonardo da Vinci esque drawing Vulture, and so she's whooping his butt. And then Miguel and Jessica Drew show up, which she's the pregnant one who's on the motorcycle.
The
show
pregnant
up
Spider Woman, yes.
to help defeat him and bring the Vulture back to his universe with their tech. And in doing so, Gwen has to reveal her identity to her dad.
Well, yeah, the whole stadium like falls down, or art museum falls down around them, and then there's just a standoff. She's run out of spider juice.
Her web shooters aren't working.
Yeah.
She doesn't have an escape route, and he's got her at gunpoint, and you can tell he's pretty deadly serious. He fires off a shot into the air to prove his point, which, as a cop, I was like, he wouldn't do that, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it worked in the scene where like the next shot, he pulls the trigger and lets off the round, and then they cut to his face just like staring at her, and he's like, "You don't get it," because she's like, "You don't get it. Like I'm not a bad guy." And he shoots that round. And he's like, "You don't get it. Like I am avenging." In my mind, I'm avenging the death of my daughter's best friend, of a kid that I felt close to, like this
like a
horrible
son.
thing.
Yeah.
Like he was like a son to me. And then the big reveal, holy shit, my daughter is Gwen. What do I do? It's this big struggle between his Law and Order and his father, styles here.
And then he
chooses
it.
He chooses the Law and Order side, and he tells her she's under arrest. And
you have the right to remain silent.
She's begging him to listen
the
and to
shock,
not be a
the
cop.
betrayal. I just got shivers from that. Oh God! Oh God! Oh.
Two things from that. 'Cause, we're gonna be here forever because this is so much.
Lot to
We
unpack.
should never do it this close to seeing the movie.
No, we need to.
But two things. One, did anybody catch the name of the band that?
Yeah, the Mary Janes.
The Mary Janes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
In the comic books, Mary Jane Watson is a member of that band, along with Betty Brant.
Cool.
In the comics.
Who was what's her name from Zack and
Elizabeth.
Miri? Elizabeth. I got nothing.
Zack and Miri make a porno?
Yeah, Elizabeth
Olsen.
Johnson.
No.
Elizabeth Banks. Elizabeth Banks.
Yep, Banks.
Yeah.
She was
Betty Brant in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
But the other thing was the reason Gwen's Peter Parker takes this serum to become the Lizard is because of Flash Thompson bullying him.
Yes, and he wants to be powerful like Gwen.
That was such a man, like.
Well, and it's a different little twist on Peter Parker, right? Because he was always bullied by Flash Thompson in the 616 and like the normal Peter Parker Spider-Man story. And when he got his powers, he struggled with like, do I just whoop this guy's ass?
Yeah.
Like, do I just make money off my powers? Do I like, it wasn't until he had his Uncle Ben moment that he realized with great power comes great responsibility. Right. And for her, it wasn't until she had her Peter Parker moment.
With great ability comes great accountability.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And she decides to kind of cut herself off from friends, and which makes her relationship, her connection to Miles even stronger because she's at the same time, she's missing him. She wishes that she had somebody who understood what she's going through.
Exactly. And that's, again, that first love story of both parties looking for someone that's understanding what they're going through. Right. And then they just, grab on so intense. Hard. Yeah. But so, that's all I had for that.
that scene.
ahead. Yeah.
So Gwen, basically, she gets invited to join Miguel O'Hara's Spider Society.
Who is Spider-Man
2099. He's a character that debuted in the 90s in the comics. He was gonna have his own TV show after the Fox Spider-Man series, but they couldn't quite nail it down, so they made it Spider-Man Unlimited, where he shares some similarities to Miguel O'Hara's character, but he's mostly just a rehashed Peter Parker.
Yep.
But anyway, and that Spider-Man Unlimited appears in the movie multiple times. But ultimately, Gwen ends up joining this Spider Society and going on these high-tech adventures to capture anomalies throughout the multiverse, and eventually that brings her back to Miles because he is fighting or dealing with a villain called the Spot, who we find out, like Mysterio in Far From Home, is a minor character from Miles' past.
Background,
he's the one who actually threw a bagel at in the great Escape from Alchemax
I was a mildly
scene.
attractive scientist, or I was attracted for being a scientist.
And I was trying to pull it up, but is that Neil Patrick Harris?
No, that is
Spot?
Jason Schwartzman.
Oh, that's right. I knew that.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So
I have an issue with the Spot.
okay,
Because he talks about his holes way too much, and it's weird.
No,
Yeah,
it's
he does
hilarious.
mention it, but
And even the construction workers are like, quit talking about your
Yeah,
holes.
talking
It's
about
making
your
everybody uncomfortable.
but my issue is his vendetta against Spider-Man. It felt very shoehorned that they're trying to make this origin story of this villain, and like I get it, but also it's like you're making some like really big leaps and conclusions here.
But I think that's like super comic book.
I agree.
And I think that's what they're leaning into there.
Yes.
Is it's just
Okay.
like that's the trope, but they're doing it in just like a funnier way because he's not the villain that we find out later in this movie.
He will be, but
I don't know that he will be.
I think he will be.
I think you're wrong.
I don't think he's done like any villainous stuff. Like
Yeah, he does.
I mean, he's trying to rob a gas station or a convenience store right away.
He's trying to.
It's more
basically-
of a larceny from an open area, but
He's trying to destroy Miles in every dimension is what I got. Like that's his ultimate goal.
no, he's going to the different dimensions to get more dark matter to increase his
power. But I think his
end goal is to destroy
kill.
the Miles from Earth 1610. Our Miles. That's what he's trying to do.
I got the impression that he's going to take all the Spider-Men down at the same time.
I think
he
it
just
was,
had the
I'm going to take
vendetta
everything
against-
from you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to kill your family. That was my understanding.
Yeah, I
of
mean,
how that
you
was
said it
going.
multiple times that like, I'm going to take everything that you loved.
Yeah,
you know,
you
I'm
took
gonna-
everything from me. I'm going to take everything
you threw
from
a bagel at
which,
me.
again, is like a very tropey superhero thing.
Agreed.
And I think they use it in a way knowing like, yes, this is a big trope, and they kind of speed run through his whole origin in the same way that they did in some of the initial Spider-Verse stuff. But I think there's a lot of fun fight scenes with him and like good
So
moments
weird,
of
too.
how how Miles adapts to his powers and kind of uses them against him sometimes, and then how he's still surprised by it sometimes. And
the intro between the two of them was fantastic.
Yeah.
I love how like Miles is talking shit before even a single
he's
punch
not
is
taking
thrown.
it
It's
seriously
like-
at all. He's
like,
cocky.
I got somewhere to be in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's eating an empanada.
Yeah, the guy's like, I'm just trying to steal this ATM machine, and he's like, why do they call it ATM machine?
Yeah.
Or what did they say at the end?
I didn't think
Yeah.
about it until you just said that, but that's the same gag
with the chai tea.
the chai tea
Yeah.
thing is.
I thought that
loved
was a
it.
great connection,
Yes.
like a great way to
he gets
weave
humbled
those
there.
webs
Yeah,
together.
I
Yeah.
didn't pick. Well, I guess I didn't have the basis yet,
Yeah.
but I didn't put that together until you
So
just
back
said
to
that.
it though. Gwen comes to Miles' universe, Earth 1610, because of the Spot, and she
Correct.
uses that as an opportunity. She can't resist. She has to go visit Miles, which Miguel, we don't know why initially, but Miguel says that basically Miles is the one Spider-Man that we can never have join our little club. And you don't learn until later that it's because the Spot, when he was a scientist working for Alchemax and Kingpin, he actually brought the spider that bit
42
Miles
Yep.
Into the Spider-Verse from a different dimension, from Earth 42.
42, yep.
And which is a Jackie Robinson reference.
Right.
And they have a lot of those throughout the movie. He's wearing a 42 jersey and stuff like that. But they, and props to Lord and Miller, like they clearly knew where this was going from the beginning, because the spider Into the Spider-Verse is glitching.
Yeah.
It like does the I'm in the wrong universe glitching out when it's lowering from the ceiling. So they were telegraphing it the whole time. It's from a different universe. It glitches just like Peter B. Parker, just like, Spider Noir, all of that. And I didn't think about that until he said it in that, and I was like, holy shit, that's why it was doing that. It wasn't because it was radioactive or whatever. It was because it was from another dimension.
Yeah, I had that same reaction too. Like it just like clicked. Like
I did.
Yeah. And then it's like totally makes sense. Like, and it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. So what they're saying is basically Miles is an anomaly wherever he goes, because the spider that bit him was supposed to bite presumably a Peter Parker in Earth 42, and now that Earth is without a Spider-Man, and he's kind of screwed up. According to Miguel, he's kind of screwed up everything. He's the OG anomaly, and that's why he's not allowed to be part of the club. They're not allowed to go visit him, that sort of stuff.
Side note, I like how they tied in the word anomaly through, like, from the Loki series too.
Like variant, you mean?
Oh, okay. We're gonna nix that.
Edit.
No way. No way. We keep all the stupid things.
So when Gwen shows up, she's talking about how she's being mentored by Miguel and Jessica Drew, and how she's learned so much. And Miguel's kind of, or not Miguel, Miles is kind of feeling like, I've learned a bunch too, and stuff like that. But then she's like, oh yeah, well, let's find out. And they kind of do like a little video game, like parkour course sort of thing, like you would in the Spider-Man games. And she's like, okay, if you have, then let's thread the needle. And she like in Spider-Man 2, when he's chasing Doc Ock, cuts through the space between the
buses and the
buses or the semi and the trailer. And then she has him, go through the ropes of some other high stakes acrobatic stuff, and he aces it all.
Except for one, he wimps out on one.
Yeah, he kind of does on one, but basically, like he proves to the point where you're talking about that he's become like this elite Spider-Man on his own. And then we get to see why Gwen's really there, and Miles kind of follows her using his invisibility, and kind of gets this heartbreaking.
You're skipping past the "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" Lion King moment too. Where
they have that scene where they're walking around like the bank, and then they sit on the upside down part of that, which the way she just walks, and the scene turns and the city's upside down all of a sudden, like the cinematography there is so beautiful.
And the symbolism of like the world's upside down right now. I gotta get it figured out. Like, oh god damn, it's such a beautiful movie. Like, it's crazy good. But you were saying we get basically Gwen is there to capture Spot. Spot gets away because she's spending time with Miles, and not only does he get away, he gets away and he's bouncing between different universes with Alchemax he
facilities.
Built himself a miniature collider and got more power, and then imploded on himself.
And now he's going to different Alchemaxes with full-size colliders and doing the same thing on a larger scale and getting more dark matter and more power, so he can have more spots and do more things. And so eventually Gwen leaves Miles' universe, and using his invisibility kind of trails her, and then he jumps through the same portal, and they end up in Mumbattan, which is basically like Mumbai and Manhattan combined in India.
And then one of my favorite quotes from the movie happens here during the introduction of this Spider-Man. And he's like, and here's the traffic. And then here's the traffic.
This is where the traffic is.
And then this is where the traffic is.
Also traffic. Yeah.
That guy is voiced by a guy named, I think it's, I'm sorry if I butcher this, but his name's Karan Soni, and he's the cab driver in Deadpool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rad. That's rad.
So he was really good.
He's great.
I was very intrigued by that spot. I saw the...
his costume is amazing.
Yes, I saw the picture of him before the
great.
movie, but I didn't know anything about it, and that small portion of the movie was fantastic. Really showcased Miles as a leader, as a superhero, and granted, it's his audition to get into the Spider team in his mind.
Well, yeah, in his mind, but it's also just him doing what he does, right? It's him being Spider-Man. So like initially in that scene when he meets the Spider-Man of India, of Moonbatten, he's feeling a little bit like self-conscious. Like this Spider-Man's like, yeah, being Spider-Man's easy. I fight a few bad guys. I go to school. I don't try very hard, but I still ace everything. I got a hot girlfriend. I don't work out because I'm perfect. I don't want to get too big and whatever. And so he's kind of feeling like, oh man, like I really don't have my shit together. I'm the crappy Spider-Man.
And tell him about Hobie?
Yeah. We get our first mention of Spider-Punk, or one of. And then when it comes down to doing the hero work and saving lives, like Miles is the first to say like, okay, you two slow down this crumbling building. You two, or like me and you, we'll go rescue the civilians, and they do it. And then we get to what is kind of the crux of the movie. We get what they call a canon event.
Yeah, disrupting the canon event.
And Miguel, or maybe it's Jessica, is telling Gwen, like on their communicator, hey, there's a canon event upcoming. And what we learn is these canon events are kind of like they talked about in the What If series. There are these absolute points in time for Spider-Men
that have to happen.
Everybody, all Spider-Men have. So like Uncle's dying, or Captain Stacy's dying.
Yeah, and police captain. Right. It has to be a police captain.
And in this case, it is the Spider-Man of India's girlfriend, who is essentially a Gwen Stacy of that universe. Her dad is Captain Singh of the police department.
Inspector Singh in that one, I guess. But
he's captain. He's captain the whole time.
He keeps calling him Inspector.
I don't know about that. I think you made that up.
But no, I didn't.
I just saw it.
I'm dying on this hill. Movie.
I
know you did.
I'll fight you later. But
okay.
Anyway, so Gwen tries to stop Miles because he sees, not knowing what a canon event is or anything about it, he sees that Captain Singh is going to rescue a child under the rubble. And he just says like, oh, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to go rescue him. I'll be right back. And she's trying to stop him because she knows that this canon event allegedly has to happen. But he thinks it's like a love thing. Like, oh, you don't want me to get hurt. And he's like, I'll be fine. I'll be right back. And so he disrupts the canon event. He saves everybody. Doesn't allow Captain Singh to die. And then when they go back to the Spider-Man or the Spider Society headquarters, this is when we get to meet Miguel, and we find out kind of the horrible situation that the Spider Society is living in, and that they've all kind of resigned to, is that they're just letting innocent people die because they believe that if they disrupt these canon events, it actually starts to unravel the whole space-time continuum of that universe.
Very much a TVA kind of vibe.
Sure, right. Like the whole time stream keeps disappearing. It's kind of like the Supreme Strange episode of What If, where basically the whole universe just becomes a black hole and disappears. And sometimes they're able to save it with the technology of 2099 Nueva York, and sometimes they're not. And Miguel knows this, or claims he knows this, because he basically disrupted a canon event on his own, and it ended up with the death of his child in his whole universe, or the whole universe.
Child.
His proxy child. He went to a universe where his variant, his alter had died. Miguel O'Hara had died and had a family. And he just stepped into that place and lived with the family, lived with the kid, and raised the kid his own.
Do you think he slept with the wife?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Probably the first thing he did.
Yeah.
And so he claims that this is why it's like the ugly side of being Spider-Man, right? They save lives, but they have to let some die for the greater good. And what I knew this is where it was going to go as soon as they started talking about that. Yep. That Miles just outright refuses to accept that.
Oh yeah,
and it's so good. It's just like it's a combination of the optimism and heroism of Spider-Man and like the optimism of youth, like not like refusing to face the real world, that sometimes bad things happen and sometimes there are tough choices to make, but done in the most like, no, I'm gonna find a way to save this.
You know what? I saw it as not just obviously this is Miles' story, but I saw it as a Spider-Man theme as well. Like Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire. No, I'm gonna like it is directly ties to the choice that Goblin gave Tobey in the first one save your girlfriend or save the children.
Yeah.
You can't do both.
Yeah.
And he
Yes,
says,
I can.
fuck you, I'm going to do both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that it's not just a Miles thing, it's a Spider-Man
Yeah.
thing. And that's why
He might not always succeed, but he has to try.
Has to
he
try,
is Spider-Man
Yeah.
because he's the only one that sees, no, you guys are taking the easy route.
And he's the one they're all telling him, like, you're not Spider-Man. You can't be part of our elite little club. But he's the one who has his head screwed on straight.
I'm
and
more
he's not,
Spider-Man than all
right.
of you.
And he,
Oh, man,
he
that-
puts that
That
he puts
leads
that on
into
display.
him getting captured.
Yes.
Because he's like, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go fix this fuck up.
Well, and
Yeah.
just so the reason he's so upset is because they tell him his dad, who is a lieutenant and is being promoted to captain in 2 days, is his canon event, and that
Yeah.
he has to die just like his uncle Aaron had to die as part of his journey as Spider-Man.
Right.
And he refuses to accept that. And so he says, I'm going to go back to my universe and I'm going to fix that. And then he gets captured. And then,
Yeah.
Which this just talking it out here, this is the only like plot hole I've found, is that Miguel's whole argument is he was never supposed to be Spider-Man.
I think that's not a plot hole. I think that will be
You think that's gonna
the
be the-
resolution
Yeah.
in the future.
Well, he's
Yeah.
already had his canon event with Uncle Aaron.
Right.
I mean,
But
well,
all
no,
the Spider-Men
they all
have
have that
Uncle
same
Ben
one.
die, and then they have, so Gwen had Peter Parker, and then she would have had Captain Stacy die.
Right.
all right.
Her
okay,
dad.
yeah.
However, he takes the way that she avoids it, as we see in the end, he retires. He
Right.
quits the police department, which spares him because he's no longer a captain.
Right.
And I think that's going to be the point where they see, like,
Oh, she
No.
changed hers
like
too.
it's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can change things for the better, and it doesn't
I don't
always
wanna-
have to end in
I
catastrophe.
don't want to take anything away from Lord Miller because, as you've pointed out, they clearly had some shit figured out from the first one, which is great because we all know what happens when you don't have a plan and you're making a trilogy.
Yeah.
But whatever.
sequels.
But I think that they really touched on this in No Way Home. After May dies, Toby comes up and is like, "For me, it was my Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
For me, it was my Gwen was my MJ." And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and when Miguel's telling this story, those scenes, all three of those scenes, are in the background.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah, when he
God.
talks about that every Spider-Man has to have a police captain,
Yes.
that Captain Stacy death, they directly show the scene from Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield and Dennis Leary.
Yep.
And him apologizing and like just
Dennis
after the
Leary.
lizard, Dennis Leary's,
Yes.
yeah, sorry.
I'm right.
Yeah, okay, Inspector.
Okay. Okay.
And-
That's your one.
That's my one. I'm done.
And yeah, that was a fantastic little cameo, and I think it's actually majorly important
Yes.
for how this links to the MCU.
I
But
agree.
we can get into that
I
a little bit
because
later.
you brought that up. Do you think Tony Stark is Tom Holland's police captain? Like it, because I think there's going to be.
Well, I think they're going to probably prove that doesn't have to happen. So I think he just
Okay.
probably won't have a direct line like
Gotcha.
that. But because he's had, I mean, obviously Uncle Ben died, and then he
Maybe
also
it's
had
just
Aunt May.
two like
Just two deaths.
huge mentor have to
Maybe.
die.
Maybe.
Yeah, like
But I think they're going to prove that like it's not the tragedy that makes Spider-Man, it's the choice to be
Agreed.
Spider-Man. Like
Agreed.
like
Yeah.
they said in the first movie, like anybody can wear the mask. You could wear the
you can wear
mask,
the mask.
but it's about how you wear the mask, like how you're going to choose to get back
It's
up.
how
like,
much terrible shit can you take and get
Right.
back up?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's where they're going with
That's
the
that
theme.
Rocky
Yeah,
speech.
which is a great speech.
yeah.
Yeah, and then so you see this happen. Miguel explains all this, and then they capture Miles, and then Spider-Punk like gives Miles a way out.
Yeah, he
Which
explains.
I saw that
yeah.
in the background the whole time. I'm like,
When he's-
this motherfucker's scheming
Well,
right here.
so initially when they are in India and Hobie's there, Miles is trying to absorb a bunch of energy from a shield in the collider, and he's
he
using
says-
his fingertips
Yeah.
to do his little absorb energy venom thing.
strike or whatever.
And
you call it. Yeah.
Hobie just breaks right through it, and because he has some weird like musical connection with his
I
abilities,
think
where
it's
he
like
can
sound. He
Yeah,
can
it's like
funnel
sound-
it into the sound waves
into
or
his
whatever.
guitar.
Yeah.
They don't explain it outright, but he just immediately tells Miles like, yeah, you just need to use your palms. Like,
Yeah, you use your whole
put your
hand,
whole-
mate.
line
put,
them
put your
out.
whole
Yeah.
hand on there.
Yeah.
And so once he gets captured, Hobie's just in the background showing him his hands like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, and
Hey.
Miles kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And fully commits, puts his whole hands on there and destroys this big kind of shield cocoon thing that they have him in
Yeah.
like it's nothing. And then the chase is on and we get this incredible
Oh,
little...
it's
Oh,
amazing.
such a great
Incredible little
chase.
scene.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and then so he escapes, and then Miguel's like, okay, be on the lookout for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then
All
you get
the
you get
epic
stations.
meme,
Yes.
epic meme
Yeah.
of you,
me?
No, the
You?
Miles Morales one.
Yeah, he's coming out of Sector 4, and then you see the Spider-Man just
the
come
weird-
in.
yeah.
And he's like, wait, do I have something on my
I got
face?
something on my
Like,
The-
turn around.
So the initially, what I love about this, and again, it's just proof that I could never write a movie or think any of this through. But initially, I'm like, why doesn't he just turn invisible? Like he's got
Yeah.
invisibility. No, but the reason is because his whole plan the whole time was to lure them all away.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's why he didn't just disappear. He could have just disappeared and just figured out something else or whatever. But his plan, as we see, is to lure all of the Spider-Man, including Miguel and the hundreds of other in the Spider Society, out of the building because they have a machine there that can send you
can
back to
send him
your
home,
dimension
yeah.
that they use to send the bad guys back to their dimensions, the anomalies. And so he knows I can only use that if there's nobody there to stop me from using it. So I have to lure all these bad guys out. And he even says when he's running, he's like, I have a plan. I just didn't tell you what it is yet.
Yeah.
And you think he's just being kind of like cocky and like, I'll figure it out. I got a
Yeah,
plan.
like a Peter Quill moment.
12% of a plan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
think it's one of those moments, but then he proves at the end that no, I thought about this the whole time,
Yeah.
and then
And he
because
saves that invisibility to sneak around and set the
and
computer up.
because Miguel O'Hara has a kind of like techno organic suit, he's able to use that venom power that he used to break the shield and that he learned from Hobie and all that to absorb a bunch of power from Miguel O'Hara's suit and then defeat him briefly so that he can get to the
but
get
there's
home
a
machine.
huge moment here. Okay, and it's
Yes. It's,
yeah.
I think it's my favorite quote.
Yeah, Miguel is just beating the shit out of him. And then he's like, "You are not Spider-Man. You're never meant to be." And then Miguel is just like, or Miles is just like, everybody's telling me, I'm not
How I'm going to live my life,
Yeah.
what my story's going to be.
Yeah, but
I'm going to do my own thing.
I'm gonna do my
Yeah.
Dude, that sent shivers. Yeah.
Since you said quotes, we skipped my favorite quote in the movie, which
boy.
Is right when they're getting to, is it Nueva York?
Nueva York, yeah.
Spider-Man 2099's Secret Society world.
Yeah.
And Gwen is kind of telling him about Miguel, and like he's kind of got these like vampire powers, and the quote was, "Oh man, I'd pay money to see a vampire good guy." And I'm like, well played, Sony. Way to take a stab at yourself. No one wants to see that movie.
Yeah,
It's
nobody
dog
wants
shit.
to see Morbius.
Sorry.
And also, it's a little foreshadowing that he is not the good guy.
Yeah.
He is actually the problem here, I would say.
Which they make that pretty apparent, like just by his demeanor, like,
right, and I think they're hard selling it there, but I don't think you quite understand why until you find out. Like, there's a great line when Miles is pissed that they want him to just let his dad die, and he goes to Peter B. Parker and he's like, "What if it was Uncle Ben? If you knew that Uncle Ben was going to die and you could have prevented it, would you have done that?" And he's kind of just like, shit, like looks down, like,
fuck, you got me, kid.
I know the kid's right, and like it's kind of the perfect stakes, I guess, for what he's going through. Like he's been kind of doing his own thing and not like he's Spider-Man, but he's his own man and he's his own hero, and he may have some of the same powers, but he's got his own set of additional powers, and he does things in a different way and lives a different life. And it's just more of like, why does that work? Like, why can you be your own person and still and function in society and still and be part of friends and family and all that, but you can still be who you are. And I think that's where they're going there.
I don't want to skip anything, and we'll definitely come back to stuff. But so after the huge chase, Miles works his way back home, sneaks back in, secretly in behind the scenes. A team is kind of forming that's rooting for him. Number one being Hobie, because as soon as Hobie gets to Miguel's world, he starts stealing shit off of everywhere, and you knew from the first time he snatched something, like, oh, he's up to
I
something.
knew that would come in handy.
Something.
Yes,
and before he was even done building it, I'm like, I see what he's doing here,
and this is what you spoiled.
This is what I spoiled.
Yes, you sent me
because I sent you a 3D print.
You sent me the 3D
Son
print
of a
files.
Bitch, I did. What a dick move
of the wrist device that Hobie makes.
I'm sorry.
That he later
What a
gives to Glenn.
dick.
It's fine. I didn't put 2 and 2 together until afterwards. So
I was gonna say you could still think that's Hobie's.
I also just immediately saw it was Spider-Verse thing and was like, nope, I don't want to look at this until after the movie.
That's why you're smarter.
But yeah.
But yeah, so
that was also one of my favorite moments with Hobie, and this is probably why he's my favorite other than Miles in the movie, is so he's the whole time he's just kind of like sewing like just webs of anarchy for no reason.
Oh yeah.
Just like being like a rebel without a cause, and you think it's kind of like annoying almost at first. He's just like, oh no, it's a statement on capitalism and shit like that. And it's just like very
punk.
Sex Pistols punk,
like
100% rebel without a cause for no reason.
I got. Yeah,
and it's still funny, but then you realize that it's like because he's seeing the writing on the wall.
Yeah,
he's seeing
living this life.
I disagree with what's going on in this establishment, so it's down with the establishment. And he shows Miles how to escape, and then his immediate reaction when he blows it up, he just goes. And then Miles runs and he just goes, oh, I quit, by the way. And jumps through a portal and throws his wristband off and disappears.
So I knew that that's what he was making. But at the same time, in my head, I'm like, Hobie left his there for Miles to take.
Yeah,
so
I thought that was going to be maybe a little bit of a reveal that, like, I snagged this on the way sort of thing. But
then when we get to the end and you realize that the take him home machine analyzes the DNA not of
you,
Miles,
of
but
the
of the spider that bit you.
You don't find that out until what a huge okay, so he finally we're going to skip a bunch of stuff, but he gets home.
He's home.
Yeah, he uses the machine and he gets home.
Before you go there, I know where you're going to, but that peptide, the inner monologue of him getting home
when he's just racing through the city, and he's just all the doubts are running through his head of everything Miguel said. You're not Spider-Man,
and also the mental images of his fears
friends,
and of his distractions, like that he's swinging through. So awesome. So
but
awesome.
He lands back at home, and you think he's talking to his mom. Yeah. And he decides.
She talked about this at the beginning about, do I reveal my identity?
And they're like, no, don't. But then there's all these other versions where Spider-Man has. So he's seen this. He's like, well, if they can do it and survive, then I'm going to fucking do it.
I think, I agree. I think he took his inspiration from them. Well, it's like, I got to come clean.
He has like a good moment where he's like, I don't think he gives a shit what the other Spider-Man done. He's like he said, like everybody keeps trying to tell me what my story's going to be. Nah, I'm going to do my own thing.
Right.
He doesn't care. He's going there to save his family.
Right.
And do it. And in order to do that, he has to tell him he's Spider-Man. So he's like, Mom, I'm Spider-Man. And she's like,
Who's Spider-Man?
Who's Spider-Man?
Yeah.
And so I kind of saw it coming because just the 42 thing, it says Earth 42 in the machine initially. Yep. And I knew that it was Earth 1610 just because I'm a dork. But
so I didn't catch that. Yeah.
I knew that he was in the wrong universe from go.
See, I didn't catch. I remember when because they show it after he has this revelation of, oh fuck, I'm in the wrong place, which he gets it way late.
Yeah.
But they show it on the screen that he went to 42 and not his own.
Yes. So he tells his mom, and his mom's like, I don't know who Spider-Man is. And he's like, this is weird. What's going on here? And she's making comments about how he took his braids out and stuff like that. And
I
then
think his uncle's the first one to say that.
no, she does it.
She says it
yeah,
too?
She says it too.
Okay.
And
Oh,
so
you took
then,
out your braids.
and then we get the big reveal that Uncle Aaron walks in, and obviously Uncle Aaron died and Into the Spider-Verse in Miles' actual universe. And that's when he's like, oh, fuck, I'm in the wrong universe.
Yeah.
And so because he doesn't know what to do, he's kind of going along with it. He wants to see his uncle. They go to the roof and they realize that the big mural for Aaron and his universe is actually a mural for his dad, in this universe, and that his dad, Jefferson Davis, is the one who died.
And this place is absolutely disheveled,
Right.
Because there's no Spider-Man.
There's no Spider-Man because the spider from this universe bit Miles in the Earth 1610 universe and is left this universe without a Spider-Man. So it's just crime-ridden. It looks like Gotham City, just dark and terrible. And immediately,
they're planning a robbery.
Immediately,
that they're talking about.
as soon as Aaron takes Uncle Aaron takes Miles out of the apartment, he's like talking about a heist that they're gonna do and planning it. And they go to the roof, and then he's attacked and knocked out. And then he wakes up tied to Aaron's punching bag, like he did with Peter B. Parker in the first movie. And
I didn't even catch that.
We get this.
Oh yeah,
we get this
I was
massive.
waiting for the watch the hands.
Yeah,
part.
that's how because again, I didn't realize how far we were in the movie. I was just like engrossed. I thought that's exactly what he's going to do. He's just going to say first lesson of being Spider-Man is, and I think that's what he's doing. At the
that's
end.
what happens.
But so then we get the reveal that Miles in this universe, or that Uncle Aaron in this universe, is not the Prowler.
Yeah,
Miles
is
the Prowler.
This goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning with the different storylines that are woven throughout this whole thing, and one of them is choices and consequences.
Right.
And in this universe, Miles chooses to be a criminal.
Right.
And chooses to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
And that whole interaction when he comes face to face with his other self from this world, and
he's
like,
just cold-blooded and brutal.
Just incredible. That was my I'm your father moment. Like that was
wow, yeah.
Man, just
and
just destroyed me.
Like you said, like the line between, you know, being the good guy and being the bad guy, it's so small.
Sometimes
it's so razor thin.
And
it might just be that one moment. It might just be one thing. And that's like, it's why being a parent is so terrifying too,
right?
Because you constantly are looking at it like, is this going to fuck my kid up forever? Is this going to go like whatever it is? And like, there's this whole,
we're all just one bad day away or one shitty, terrible event from anything.
Yeah, from something good or
something
from
good,
something terrible
or something bad.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and it's all about, but it all comes down because you can't control other people. You can't control the universe and what happens to you, but you can control your choices. And that's what I think, again, that I think this whole theme is going to be the choice to be a better Spider-Man, the choice to try
to do the right
to
thing,
save
no matter
everybody,
how much it sucks.
Right. No matter like, you know, what it's going to do or why you think it can't happen, you still have to try to make it happen. And if you fail, you fail, but like, at least you gave it an effort.
Yeah. And Gwen assembles this team in the background and sets up the next episode.
Right. So just to say briefly on that. So Gwen gets the wristband from Hobie. Hobie goes to her universe.
Her dad gives
and
it
leaves
to her.
it with her dad. And
she gets kicked
Miguel
out of the...
kicks her out of the Spider Society, takes her tech, puts her back in her universe. She has a good reunion with her dad, which is very nice. And she realizes he quit being a captain, so he's safe. And she realizes, like, well, I can help Miles here.
Save Miles,
and he gives her, Captain Stacy gives her Hobie's wristband to go through the multiverse, and that he left there for him, or for her. And so she uses it to go to Earth 1610 to Miles' actual universe, and Miguel and Jessica Drew and Ben Reilly Spider-Man, who's voiced by Andy Samberg.
Yeah, we didn't touch on him, but he was fantastic.
He was funny. They go and they're looking for Miles in his own actual universe where we first met him, and they all don't realize that,
which is dumb because the machine told them where they went.
Yeah, I was gonna say Miguel should know. But I think it's just he's like so hot that he doesn't.
Just tunnel vision.
Rage.
Just kill him.
Yeah,
sort of thing. Which I genuinely believe he would. He's
he's
trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And
he was trying to do that on his world.
Yeah.
He was ripping his guts out.
So like you said, Gwen puts together, as she calls it, like her own band. Like, you know, she always wanted to join a band and she could never find the right one. And then she finally does. And we get Spider-Ham, we get Spider Noir, which I hope to God is still Nick Cage in the next movie.
It's gotta be.
He's a big enough fan that I think he'll come back and do it. So if it isn't, it'll be real sad. We get Penny Parker again in an upgraded mech suit.
Mech Spider.
And then we get we get Hobie, we get a couple of other new ones that join the group to go off and save
the India
Miles.
Spider-Man.
Yes, Spider-Man from Moonbatten.
Moonbatten. But so sets us up for... It doesn't even mess around with after credit scenes.
Oh yeah, no after credits, no mid or post.
I made the kids wait. I was like, okay, there's gonna be an after.
I always look it up when the credits start.
Yeah, I googled it and I still was like, oh man, what if I'm wrong?
No way.
What if I'm wrong? Or what if this is wrong?
I stayed until the credits rolled because that artwork was
beautiful,
unreal.
Yeah,
it was so good.
Beautiful.
But I left when the credits rolled. So. It was,
this again, like I said, they kind of Infinity Ward it, where it just fucking ends.
Yeah,
it just ends
on Infinity War. Your guts are on the floor.
It ends in a huge cliffhanger, but it also ends with I think a very determined and bad. Like he went through the route of trying to appeal to his alternate Miles. Like, hey, if I don't get out of here, our dad is gonna die, and alternate Miles is like, your dad is going to die. I don't give a fuck.
Mine's dead.
Yeah. And you see
I hope you feel that pain.
Yeah. One of the last things you see is Miles' finger
the chain,
with his Venom strike power starting to work on the chain. And his face is just like, okay, here we go. Like I'm getting home.
You're nothing to me.
I am getting home and I am saving my family. And it's all in one little frame of animation, and it's so done. It's so perfect.
I mean,
I think we got a couple more things to wrap this up. Okay. We were going to talk about. Jimmy wanted to do a favorite Spider-Man, just random background Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So what do you think about it? Real quick, just to get my favorite quote out there. It's not anything earth-shattering, but mine is the I'm gonna do my own thing moment. I think that just the
so
circumstances
powerful.
surrounding the whole thing, it really
it's hard to top.
It's either that or it's I think my favorite. I think this is more of a gag than a quote. But everybody telling Peter B. Parker he's a terrible mentor, and him being like, but he did just beat you. Yeah. And like, I did teach him that. So maybe I am a pretty good mentor.
I mean, there's probably a dozen Miles quotes in there that I could absolutely love, but I'm serious. As soon as I heard the Morbius reference, I'm like, I gotta write that down before I forget it.
That's a great one. So favorite random background Spider-Man?
Yeah. What's your favorite random Spidey?
He got very, very little time. But I'm gonna say the web slinger, the
one on the horse,
the Western. The horse had a Spider-Man mask on.
Why does the horse have a mask?
To hide his identity.
Like duh.
And the horse shoots webs out of its hooves. It's like great. That's fantastic.
But the whole he shoots the gun,
a double barrel shotgun of web blasts. Yeah.
Oh, I think my favorite. Even though we see it like very briefly, just because it was so random, but the Tyrannosaurus Spidey.
Yeah. My 6-year-old tried to get me to buy a $45 action figure of the T-Rex, and his name is Spidey Rex, by the way, or Spider Rex. Yeah.
I have a hard time picking. There was the Peter parked car. Which was the spider buggy.
It was the spider buggy
from the comics, which is built by the Human Torch and Spider-Man together.
I
and it can drive on walls.
Again, a little comic book box pops up.
Yeah, and
because they did the one with Scooby-Doo. Yeah, when he talks about the Cockney.
I haven't got a Scooby-Glue or Scooby-Doo, which is slang for a clue. Or whatever.
So it pops up and it says Peter parked
Which
car.
I think that one's my favorite, just because it's a funny piece of like random Spider-Man history, but also the name Peter parked car is just very funny.
Pretty great. That's a
and
great
then I
dad
think
joke.
my others are either a little more like serious, like actual cool Spider-Man. The Spider-Man from PS4, like
Yes.
Marvel or
Hell
that
yes.
game shows up in his cool white spider suit.
Yep.
And then there's and he gets actually like a little bit of voice line. This other one, the Spectacular Spider-Man. He's the shorter, like looks more like he's out of a cartoon with kind of an angular face.
Yep.
When they're having the canon event conversation, and he's talking about how it has to happen, sort of thing. He's from a show called Spectacular Spider-Man that had 2 seasons in like 2008 to 2009.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
it's-
knew of the comic book character. I didn't know.
It's fantastic. It's
Oh.
a really great show. He's voiced by Josh Keaton, who has gone on to do some other Spider-Man voice cameo stuff, and
Sweet.
has voiced like if you've seen any of the DC Batman like Arkham movies, he voiced Black Spider in that because he's Spider-Man in Marvel, and then he goes to be Black Spider, who's a similar style character in DC but a bad guy. So that was probably those are
Duncan's
my
here for the
favorites.
deep cuts. I like it. Yeah.
What was, oh yeah, yours was Web Slinger. So,
Yeah,
and then I thought
that's
the other
probably
thing
Web
was
Slinger.
probably just other cameos. So we see, like I said, Spectacular Spider-Man. We get Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire. We get Donald Glover,
Donald
as
Glover was
Prowler, which is
huge
probably
for
the
me.
biggest. Was
Yeah.
probably the best cameo
I
there.
agree.
Just because, like, it's funny when he's like, "It's rude to stare," when
Yeah.
Miles is just looking at him, and then when they're chasing Miles through there, he's just going, "Boo!"
that
And
they're all
everybody is
boo.
there.
I
and
thought
like-
all the bad guys were doing that.
they might have been all been doing it, but I just like that he
That's
was
great.
leading the charge there. There's a little cameo of the Venom universe.
Yes.
When Spot is traveling from universe to universe, he pops up into a
convenience
convenience
store.
store.
Oh, yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
With the Asian lady that's Mrs.
like-
Chen, I believe is
Yep.
her name.
And this,
And he
you act like this is
takes
just
some-
normal
this
for
isn't
you.
weird to you?
Yeah. Like, well,
Like,
like,
no.
dude, a giant symbiote dude bit somebody's head off
ate
right in front
somebody
of her.
in front of me. Yeah.
And then, like I said, PS4 Spider-Man. And then if we had 4 days to go frame by frame with a movie, I could list 150
Dude,
more.
You know what's sad is
I'm going to do that.
if
That's what's sad.
That is sad. We're all gonna do that. But like if we had 4 days, we not even going frame by frame, we could probably talk
yeah,
about
we
this
would still
movie.
talk about this.
Because
Talk
and
about
I'll
this.
go right into ratings. I have nothing clever for this one, boys. I'm just going with the highest rating I can bestow, and that's the Billy Bob from Varsity Blues. A 10, a fucking 10.
Okay.
That's all I got, man. This movie blew my mind. I didn't really have a lot of expectations, just knowing the first one was great. Sequels have a hard time, especially the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this one, it's I've only seen it once, but
I'm
it's
really
one of my
glad
favorite
they
movies
took
of all
their
time.
time.
Oh my god.
I'm really
yes.
glad. And you can see just from the animation and some of the behind the scenes stuff, if you get a chance to watch that, why it took 5 years to come out.
Oh, there's so much
And
in
why
there.
it was delayed, because it was originally supposed to come out, I think, in October of 22, and it
Right.
got pushed to now. And man, I'm glad they took their time and did it right.
Lord Miller, blank check.
Yeah,
Do
I
whatever
didn't
you
realize
want.
they also did like the Lego movie, Lego
Yeah.
Batman.
Yeah. Oh, that was another
oh yeah,
great
the
scene.
Lego.
And-
universe.
yeah, my
Fuck, how
favorite,
did we
my
forget
other
that?
favorite quote would have been Miguel going, "Thanks, Peter. You're one of the best
Yeah.
of us."
You're-
And that was the
you're one of
Lego
the best of us,
Spider-Man.
yeah.
It's so
And
great.
he's because Legos don't make noises, he does his own sound effects with the.
Yeah.
Oh, and also we get
J.
J.K.
Jonah
Simonson
Jameson.
in
Yeah.
every universe where J. Jonah Jameson speaks.
It's him.
It's J.K. Simmons doing the lines.
Yeah,
and
so
in the
great.
Spider-Man, in the Lego Spider-Man, they rip a line straight out of the Tobey Maguire movies.
Yep.
Where he wants to get pictures of Spider-Man.
Yep.
So
They were like verbatim scene
Yeah,
from
yeah.
there because Elizabeth Banks is in it too.
Yeah, yep.
Of course, she was in the Lego movie as well, so she was Wild Style.
Oh yeah, that's right.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. She is.
So-
So okay.
So I give it a 10. Duncan, what do you got?
Yeah, I 10. It's a 10. I don't have anything fancy. It was amazing.
Yeah, I 10, man.
Yeah,
10.
it's
A fully
Yeah.
loaded web shooter.
just boom, just. I don't know.
Thwip.
What. Yeah,
10 thwips out of 10.
10
10.
whips. Yeah.
10 Billy Bob thwips. That's yeah, fantastic. I know we said it already, but if you haven't seen this, we just screwed it all up for you.
But even so,
even
it's
if you have,
still worth seeing.
yes,
Go see this movie
multiple times.
Watch the first one, see the next one.
So this is a perfect opportunity. I should have chimed up with this earlier, but so I go to the movie yesterday with my kids, right? I'm not big into letting them have like pop or soda, depending on what part of the country you're from. But like at the movie theater, it's kind of, whatever. Whatever keeps you quiet so I can enjoy this, right? So I let them get ices.
Oh,
And
okay, yeah.
They had the collectible popcorn bucket for the movie and the cups. So if either of you want a cup, I got one for you. But
wow.
so they have the display cups of the collector's cups in different sizes out in front of the cash register, right? So I said, like, just give me 2 of the collector's cups and then 1 of just a normal cup or whatever. Well, they give me a Little Mermaid one. I'm like, do you want a Little Mermaid one? He's like, no. I'm like, just give me a different one. So I hand it back to him. I turn and talk to my kid. I turn around and I see one of the Spider-Man cups. So I grab it. We go over there. We fill up. The first one I fill up starts leaking out the bottom.
Oh,
and
no.
I'm like, what the hell? So I get a napkin and I take it. I'm like, hey, this one's got a hole in it. And the cashier looks me dead in the eye and goes, yeah, you took the display cup. And I'm like, you knew I took the display cup and you didn't freaking say anything to me? Because they put a hole in it and the janitor's over there cleaning it up. And he goes, it's pretty effective, huh? People try to steal those all the time. And I'm like, I paid for the freaking cup.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to steal anything. You let me take a cup that had a hole in it, knowing it had a hole in it. Oh, so pissed. So pissed. But whatever. I said, that's smart.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Put a hole
But
in the
yeah,
cup. Yeah.
can't say enough good things about this. See this movie. It was great. It's great. It's great. So should we
let's move on to the
do the mailbag?
mailbag.
Yeah. Mail cup.
There we go.
Yeah, that's something like that.
You got anything, Jimmy?
I do. I have. All right. So shout out to my X-ray lab tech for this.
Ooh.
Yeah. Went to see the doctor about some things the other day and had to get an X-ray. But anyway, shout out to her. She asked if you could put the F word anywhere in the Star Wars universe, where would you put it? It cannot be Samuel L. Jackson because that's too easy.
I'm probably gonna go. I'm probably gonna go full Family Guy and Han getting frozen in carbonite and just fuck off. No, that's terrible, but because that's a great moment. But
Yeah.
but that's the first one I could think of. Anybody else?
I don't know. That's tough.
So my moment. So I've had a day to think about this, and my moment would be Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan is coming down the ramp, and Anakin is like, "You will not take her from me," and he's like, Anakin says something. I forget how he says it, but he's like,
You have done that yourself.
"Yeah, you have done. Yeah, you've done that. You've done that yourself." And it's like, I want to rephrase it to be like, "The fuck you are."
I changed my mind. Mine is also in Revenge of the Sith. It's when the ship is like going all wonky after they save the Chancellor, and R2 like slides through the hallway. I want his squeal to be fuck. Like,
Okay, I'll go with Revenge of the Sith too. And when Anakin catches on fire and says, "I hate you," I want it to be, "I fucking hate you."
I fucking hate you.
I fucking hate you.
it hurts so bad.
So I'm watching Rebels the other day, and Chopper. I love Chopper. Okay.
Chopper says fuck all the time.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah,
Guaranteed.
there's this scene where Hera tells Chopper to go do something, and you just hear him be like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "Wait, what?" Yeah, so Yeah.
Since we're so good at tangents, I saw the other day. I saw the other day that I saw the other day that Vin Diesel said that there's a script that's only been shared with him and James Gunn of every time he says "I am Groot," they're like
Which ones are fucks?
Well, no, they're all. It's like sometimes it's a paragraph of dialogue, but only Vin Diesel knows it,
Right.
and Groot
So
has
he can
to
give it proper intonation and
And I'm just like, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
I don't know. I think that's
okay.
it shows how insane James Gunn is about
That's true.
about
Details
preparation and
yeah,
details. So
yeah. But yeah, screw Vin Diesel. I don't
Okay.
care.
that's a good question. We
Yeah,
have any,
that's a
what
great
do we
one.
got next?
I got one. This isn't a question, but a comment. Xenophon the Disciplined says,
Sounds like a badass.
Gents, having listened to podcast number 2, I'd like to offer Carl Urban in Dread for an actor willing to play a part and not show his face. Yeah, I think Carl Urban has done everything to prove that
Carl
he's
Urban is an
full
amazing
geek.
actor. Yeah.
Full
That
geek.
is a big deal in superhero movies or in any sort of movie where there's a lead actor with a helmet, and them being willing to dedicate to that.
That's why you almost can't be a huge star because they wouldn't do it. But like he's a pretty damn big star, but I think he would, depending on the part, I think he would do it.
That Dread movie is amazing.
I have to give it a rewatch.
I love it.
I wasn't huge on it, but
You're so wrong,
I know. I've been there before.
Inspector.
I'm not wrong. It's in there. It's in there. I know it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got any other ones? Any other questions?
Yeah. Didn't he have a follow up on or something, or was that it?
That's the only one that I had there. Let me look here. Go ahead if you got one.
I posted on our Instagram that we were recording and to send us any questions. I just wanted to shout out to our friend of the pod, Rob Kugler. He reached out and said that.
Oh, nice.
He just asked if Across the Spider-Verse is better than the first, why or why not, and is it worth money to see in the theaters? We already went over why it's great. I'm still not sure if it's better than the first or not. B has his opinions. I'm in love with the first one. I think because I had zero expectations going into it, and it just blew me away.
I don't want to downplay that because I feel the same way.
Yeah.
But this one's so good.
They're both amazing movies.
Agreed.
You should definitely spend the money to see it in theaters.
Absolutely.
150%.
Go see it a couple times.
Go see it 10 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to put one above the other because one was so good and two was just on the same level.
Yeah.
It's really hard to
It's a
decide.
solid, perfect segue into the next.
Yeah, if you have an opportunity to see it in theaters, fucking do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna
do it.
I'm gonna close. Do it. Cue the Kermit. I think I'm gonna close this out with this one. If you're good with this.
Yeah.
What is your top console? He's very specific about that. RP. This is from our friend of the show, Tony. What is your top console RPG and why? My call, Fallout New Vegas with an honorable mention of The Witcher 3.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
100%. Yeah, because we all just want to be cowboys.
I mean, yeah,
Outlaws.
Red Dead is hard to top, but gosh, I'm gonna have to go with Mass Effect or Halo. Although Halo is more borderline FPS, it's hard to call that an RPG. But either, I mean, Halo has been my life.
Yeah.
I give an honorable mention to Leisure Suit Larry. How about that? No? Okay.
I will say
probably Mass
Fallout. I think the first one I played was Fallout 4, maybe.
I've never played any of them.
Dude, I played the ever-living shit out of it. Countless hours I should have been studying for exams in college that were spent.
Is that the game that your wife has the
your wife?
Your wife?
Oh, like I thought you meant in the game. Your wife, or something. I was like, no, you're not married in the game.
No, your wife.
Okay, yes. The Pit Boy.
Yeah,
yes.
Whatever
on her
the
watch.
green thing.
Yeah, the background of her watch is the Pit Boy from Fallout.
Yes.
Yep. Yep. Shout out
Observations.
to my lovely wife.
Yes, she's a badass.
Yeah, so Fallout's a solid choice, but I think mine's probably Red Dead. Red Dead 2.
So what, you're Halo or you're the other one you said?
Well, I'm going to go with Mass Effect because Halo is an FPS, so I got to go Mass Effect.
I think that's the
okay,
proper terminology there. So
well,
where we get.
I guess it's that the safety brief time.
Yeah, safety brief.
Okay.
Anybody got anything pressing that they're on this weekend?
F1 Spanish Grand Prix is this weekend.
The Grand P.
Grand Prix.
I thought you were talking about the computer key. I'm like, what is that
No,
one do?
no,
Is that
no.
what makes the screen brighter and darker?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Let's see. For Max Verstappen is in pole position, going for
No
for
button for that? Come on. Yeah.
He's set to win or set to be in first for this race. I mean, he's the 2-time defending champion this year. So yeah, looking forward to that race. Should be good.
Cool. I'm slowly piecing together a home gym, so I'm
This is the way.
this is the way. I can't wait. I hate high school kids. I mean, they're fine. I just don't want to be around them. Is all I'm saying.
No, they're terrible.
Yeah, no, they're not good.
But yeah, so I might do some shopping at some sporting goods stores and see
Absolutely.
what I can come up with. But
You'll never go back.
I ordered some weights for it, some plates, and I ordered a bundle. And I didn't expect them to ship all at once in one box because that would be 230 pounds and really, really heavy. But I thought they'd at least send them together. No, they sent them all one at a time, and they're staggered out over several days.
Yep.
And I'm furious.
That's how it usually goes. So.
Gosh. But yeah, Duncan, what do you got?
I'm gonna be doing some baby prep. We got the kiddo
that's
coming
right.
pretty soon, so we're finishing up the nursery. So that's exciting. I need to stock up on like shows and things to watch while I'm sitting there with a small child.
That's
so
perfect.
hopefully I can use that. When did you say Ahsoka comes out?
August.
Oh
which
shit!
kinda-
Depends exactly when the kiddo
yeah.
comes out, but I really do need to get through Clone Wars. Like I said, I'm struggling, and then we've been doing a bunch of other stuff. So
I dug back into Justified, which I never watched, but man, freaking
the first season is by far my favorite, and it's incredible.
So Raylan Givens, the U.S. Marshal,
Timothy Oliphant,
Cobb Vanth, baby.
Cobb Vanth, yep.
I could watch him all day. It's a little funnier than I want it to be. Like, I'd rather have more of him being a badass, but
oh man, there's plenty of
so
that.
good. It's so good.
The opening scene in that in that show where he just goes to meet that
Johnny
piece of
Bucks.
shit. Yeah. The bad guy from The Mask.
Exactly.
And tells him like, hey,
Johnny Tyrell. I think
I gave you 24 hours to get out of town. You got like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then just fucking blows him away.
Yep.
Is
Wow.
amazing.
There's a great episode with Ferris Bueller's best friend Cameron, who's a black market dentist. And
Yeah.
I
forgot all about that episode.
It's a great show.
That is a great one.
I never watched it when it was out because
What's
I
the
was
name?
on
It's Bo, right? Is his kind of
Boyd.
Boyd, yeah. Is his
Boyd.
old buddy.
That's
What's
Shane from The Shield.
Yeah, what's his real name though?
Goggins, Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins. Yeah, he's fucking great in that show too.
I was a diehard Shield fan when that show was on, and Justified and like Sons of Anarchy came out like right after the Shield was ending, and I boycotted everything that was FX because they
canceled the Shield.
destroyed the Shield and canceled it.
Yeah.
And the last season was terrible. So, but that's I highly recommend that. It's on Hulu, so got Hulu.
I do love just. I actually own the first season on DVD.
Do you?
Yeah, on DVD.
Well, all 6 seasons are on there, and apparently
nice.
they're coming out with a new one.
There is like I think it's
He
supposed to be
goes
like
to
a soft
Detroit.
reboot almost of the show with him. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he goes to Detroit. That's all I know.
Yeah.
So But yeah.
Cool.
Jimmy, what you got? Nothing? You already said Formula One. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
I think that's it, folks.
That's
so,
it.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
If you get a chance, check out our socials. Again, that's at Geek BN. That's Bravo November Vets at Geek BN Vets on Twitter and Instagram. You can reach us there for comments, for criticisms, for hate mail, for fun stuff,
Mom jokes.
for memes, for merchandise.
Buy some of that shit.
previews, stuff like that. So then our merch is available on threadless.com. That's geekbattalionvets.threadless.com. A lot of cool designs there. So check those out. Buy some if you want. Support the pod.
Any parting words, Jimmy? No?
Nah, I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah, I'm going to do my own thing. Don't go to Tijuana.
Yeah. All right.
Wrap
Inspector.
it up.
Yep.
All right. Also,
All right.
check out
Yep.
crocdicks.com.
Crocdicks.com. Yep.
And
Thanks,
cue-
everybody.
Cue the music.
Yep. Rock out, rock on.
Tupac.